Hi, my name's Vadim Spice, and scaffolding's been a big part of my life. We need to acknowledge that the biggest cause of harm to our people is manual handling and body stressing. So I'm really excited today to help show you some of the techniques and some of the advice that will give you a longer career and less injury and less harm while you're working in this great industry. It's really quite incredible how much risk can be managed before the crews even turn up to site. Establishing if a truck can be parked on site or close to where the build is, or even if we can have a laydown area, are all things that managers can do with a phone call before the team even arrives. Booking cranes or a hoist happens well before the day of the build. Hey, so scaffolding is a team game. We all know that the pre-planning conversation is absolutely vital for the job running safely and smoothly.
Before we start, we'll just run through the health and safety paperwork, that pre-start form for us.
Make sure you talk about the best way to get the gear from the truck, across the scaffold and up the scaffold as well. When you've had a look around the job and you've all had a good chance to talk about it, come together, agree on the plan. I find that a sketch is a really good way of doing it.
This is the assembly point area, yeah.
And then all agree on it and sign it off together to make sure you understand it. Don't be afraid to revisit it because the job will change, and so may be the way you're going to do it.
Now get you to have a straight arm.
Warming up before the job is a really, really good idea.
Now we're going to do our triceps.
A few stretches is a really good way to stand around, talk, agree on the plan, and then get yourself ready for the manual handling and the lugging you're about to do. So we're about to show you a couple of different techniques on how we carry our equipment, because the different environments and places we work, there's not just one ideal way to do it. A wheelbarrow would be ideal, but it's not going to get the gear lugged up a hill or up 100 stairs. You need to really consider if you're really loading up your shoulders or carrying on your hips. Is it really that efficient though, to stand there and load and load and load, walk a short distance and dump it all down where you have to pick it up and pass it? Sometimes smaller loads pass straight up to the crew or put into a stack ready to be passed are a much better way to work. We see a lot of accidents, not caused from the actual carrying of the gear, but if I trip over or if I turn too quickly or if I end up dropping the gear. Ask yourself, can I walk safely upstairs or down on a steep embankment or just across a gritty construction site safely? What if I trip? What's going to happen to all of that gear should I fall and have to put out my arm? And it's not trying to impress your teammates every time with pushing the limits. This is about the long game. It's common practice in the industry to jump straight back onto the top of the truck, move around on the deck, and it's sort of a practice that we want to discourage. Looking here and seeing you standing on top of the load, not only can you actually trip and slip and fall down, it puts you in a really difficult position to work safely, bending down, lifting up heavy items, reaching out away from your core and passing items down. It's just encouraging you to pull a strain or pull a muscle. We've got 8 metre standards here that we need to get off. So you'll be able to see a couple of techniques to get some of those longer, more heavier, bulkier, more difficult items off the truck to either manoeuvre and lift off a long standard out of the stillage, but as we're looking to promote, creating a small platform alongside the truck makes it a lot easier for you to get on the deck when you need to get on the deck and to be able to access items from different racks and stillages a lot more safely than actually climbing up and working from a truck deck. I think you can clearly see the benefits of the platform. Yes, there are plenty of times we can't build it, but there are plenty of times we can and don't. And for that 5 minutes of putting it together with the components that are already on the truck, it's safer. You're not going to trip, you're not going to fall, you're not exposed to a fall at a height, and it's just better for your body to reach in and lift things at this height rather than up or over. Hey, so when stacking materials ready to pass up, try to avoid laying them on the ground and bending over and standing up and bending over and standing up. It's just going to do your back in. However, when you do stand gear up to pass up, make sure you don't do it in such a way it can slip or slide or just topple and fall over. It's really, really dangerous. So try to stack standing ledges and standards into corners, as we've done here, create V's with transoms to safely lean gear and stack them into. So it means that I can take gear and pass it up really easy, and it's a lot better for my body when I do it. So the challenges of manoeuvring around at height now is we're a bit restricted in space and how we can get a good stance. That's why it's a really good idea to make sure that you're working from behind a guardrail, and the advanced guardrailing techniques are awesome for that. It means that I'm obviously protected from a fall, but it helps you support yourself from proper gains as you bring up some of those more challenging items like trusses and soldiers and really long scaffold tubes. Levering long items over a guardrail and sliding them in is a great technique for reducing stress on the body. If you can plan your job so that gear gets received and passed up to you from the chain or from the gin wheel and put it straight into place, that's absolutely ideal. There are times where you'll need to stack it on the platform so that you can get a bit of gear to carry on the build. Make sure you have tow boards in place or other means to stop the gear from falling off. It also encourages the fact that you're stopping and dropping and bending and picking up gear each time from the chain and putting it straight into place. Just reduces the amount of manual handling you've got to do. As we're passing gear up and we're fanatic in a chain, you do tire, sometimes you slip. Make sure that the person at the bottom of that chain passes and steps straight out of that drop zone, keeping an eye up above to ensure that the gear gets passed straight up and down. But if it does come down, they're not in the way of getting anything dropped onto them. For that, you'll also need a nice clear area, once again highlighting the need or the idea of standing gear up and stacking it in a safe place. Watch Dave here, lifting up a deck after he installed the guardrails in the lift above using the step-up technique, a much safer way of working than relying on harnesses. Flicking one end of the deck up first, then the other, reduces the stress on the arms and shoulders from raising your hands above your head with a load. A good team communicates together, so you'll notice that a chain working well is where everyone is talking to each other up and down. Yeah bro, got it mate, mine, yours, just to indicate and cue that I've got it and you can release it. This reduces the chance of dropped objects, but it also helps not passing gear apart, in front of your face. Try to minimise the amount of gear raised above your head or your face. This causes stress on your arms and shoulders.